Hey there, Libras. I'm Isaac. Welcome to my channel. We're going to get into a reading for the month of September for you guys. Um, so let's just jump into this here. The first thing that kind of jumps out at me for this whole round of readings for this month is this Lilith and Venus conjunction here in Libra in your sign. So you're going to be feeling that a little more strongly than others, especially since Venus is or Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in Libra right now, and so there's a very strong Libra energy happening right now, maybe even a little too strong because with Lilith here representing sort of the almost like a toxic desire. It's something you crave, the thing you want like really badly, but ultimately ends up kind of making things worse for you. Um, this could be, maybe being in the first house here. I think there's an overemphasis on appearance, looks, the shape of your body. Like there could be maybe you're feeling more motivated than usual to like alter your appearance, like or just try to be as good looking as possible to the point where maybe it could be fueled by something unhealthy. Obviously, Libras are almost always good looking, anyways. I mean, to be honest, Libra, in my opinion, Libra tends to be like one of the prettier sign, well, the prettiest sign, really. I mean, everybody falls for Leo or Libras. Everybody wants to flirt with you. Everybody wants your attention. Everybody thinks you're attractive. It's just very often the way it is. But I think at some point in your life, perhaps in your childhood, somebody convinced you that this was like your primary asset. That this is like that being good looking is all is just super super important because if you want people to make money or to get money from other people, basically being in the eighth house here, and Uranus in retrograde in this eighth house in Taurus, it's like somebody convinced you at some point, probably in your childhood. So this might be a subconscious thing that you don't really think about consciously. That like that your looks are like the most important thing when it comes to being taken care of in life. And let's be honest, that does affect things. However, that doesn't necessarily lead to happiness or inner peace. And this could be, I mean, with Lilith here, it's like I feel like this is a projection of like there's an anxiety about something else that is getting projected onto your sense, onto your appearance, onto your feeling about how you look. And so that can manifest either as just feeling bad about the way you look or feeling like you just want to go way out of your way and kind of go over the top and accentuating your appearance, which can end up having the opposite effect. If you go too far, it can kind of start to seem a little bit like kind of weird. Uh, we've all seen those movie stars who are really pretty, and as they start aging, they start getting tons of cosmetic surgery, and eventually they look like aliens. That's like, I call it bee sting syndrome, where their lips are all huge and they look like they got stung by a bee. So that's kind of a more extreme manifestation of what we're talking about here, but it can manifest really in anybody to more subtle degrees. And I think maybe the real anxiety, the thing that maybe you're subconsciously actually feeling worried about or insecure about, that you're projecting onto this idea of appearance, might actually have to do with this idea that maybe you're not sure like what you want to do. Like you don't know what your thing is. Some people out there, you see other people who are like, oh, that person's an artist and they're just really into being an artist and that they have their thing. That person's a musician, they're really into it and that's their thing. This person's an engineer and they're really, maybe you don't really know what your thing is, and that's kind of making you feel like, well, what can I do, and then that might translate into a fear about work and money. And since somebody in that early portion of your life, being in the fourth house, convinced you that your looks were the main source of being taken care of and having financial security, so then that triggers this fear. So it's like you're actually maybe afraid of like trying to figure out, it's like just not knowing what it is that you like to do, what you really want to do for like work or for a sense of just like your day, daily routines probably are not something that you're super into. Being with sixth house in Pisces, of course, is a general reading. It's not going to apply to everybody. Um, but there's just this general sort of um, kind of nebulous feeling, a foggy feeling when it comes to just what you want to do with yourself every day. And you kind of like to be able to change things up and not have to get stuck into rigid routines. And so maybe there's a fear that if you settle in on one thing that you really like to do or like to focus on, that that's going to become the only thing you do, and that's going to get stagnant, and then you're going to get stuck into this routine, this, the infamous Libra fear of commitment, while simultaneously craving commitment, because there's a fear that commitment, whether it be relationships or work or really anything, there's a fear that that's going to lock you in to some certain routine that you can't escape from. And that's just all it's ever going to be anymore. But that's not really necessarily real. It's not necessarily true. You can do that, but it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to lock yourself in or feel locked into things. You can always walk away from things if you feel like it gets stagnant and you don't like it anymore. Um, and then but then there's also the fear of like, well, now I have to find some new thing to get into, and then it kind of creates this cycle. Um, so really, after looking at this chart for a little while, I think what's really going on here, that this all is circling around this concept of self-worth. So again, it's like you feel, okay, so you don't know what you want to do for work, right? Which then makes you feel anxious about your survival. It makes you feel anxious about your finances and how you're going to take care of yourself, which then triggers this old wound that makes you feel like, okay, well, if I don't know what I want to do, I don't know how to, I don't know what I want to do to be able to take care of myself in a way that I enjoy. So maybe I need to find a partner who can help take care of me financially. And to do that, I need to be as good looking as possible. And then maybe I'll be able to be okay. I'll just gotta be as good looking as possible. Got to find it so that I can find that partner. But really, what this is all circling around is this idea of that's the only thing that makes that's where your worth comes from. Is that worth and value only comes from money, partners, or work, or like your thing, your title in life. But really, none of those things actually give you a sense of real inherent self worth. You have to find this inherent value, your inherent value that comes from the fact that you exist as a conscious being in this universe. You are an aspect of creation. You are an inextricable part of the fabric of the universe. How could you not be worthy? How could you not be worth as much as, if everything is one thing, all the cosmos and creation is really just one consciousness manifesting itself in an infinite number of ways. If on that absolute level everything is one thing, then the entire concept of value falls apart. There's no such thing as value. How can one thing be more important or more valuable than any other when literally it's all one thing? And so, really, what you're facing at the deepest levels, which is kind of the same thing that almost everyone on this planet is facing, is this nervousness about your inherent value in relationship to everything else around you. And this spawns this entire like survival strategy, which for you, perhaps if you're resonating with this reading, is what we just talked about, this survival strategy of basically securing a partner to take care of you, so for the sake of survival. But the antidote to all this, with the North Node in the seventh house, also along with Chiron in your seventh house in the Aries, is to learn to, and this is going to sound a little abstract at first, but learn to just see your own inherent worth that has nothing to do with money, titles, partners, anything like that. It completely comes from within. It is a sense of value based on nothing more than the fact that you exist and that you deserve to exist, because creation doesn't, if you didn't deserve to exist, you wouldn't exist. Creation wouldn't have created you. It doesn't do pointless things. So recognizing that you are an aspect of all that is, and you're like, okay, well, that's great, but how do I do that? It's kind of counterintuitive in a way, because it's not really something you do. It's something you don't have to learn to do something to feel that you are value, that you have inherent worth. You have to remove the thing that's telling you that you're not, or that you don't have inherent worth. So it's really more about being present and letting go of all this mental stuff that's causing you anxiety and pain, and kind of overactive desire. This story that's been planted in the back of your mind about how how to survive and what you need to do in order to be okay, and what gives you value. That are all these things that are based upon conditions that are outside of you. Um, learning that your value does not come from your appearance or how good looking you are. It doesn't come from your bank account. It doesn't come from the type of partner you have or the house that you live in or the type of car or any of this status based stuff. It doesn't come from your job title. It doesn't come from whether or not you're a great artist or somebody who works at a gas station. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is completely just inherent. It's automatically there. You already value yourself. It's just that you have all this conditioning built up on top of it that tells you that you don't. It gives you reasons to believe that you're not valuable. So this is all about self worth. So really, it's all about this kind of spiritual practice, which you have Jupiter and Mars in your ninth house. And maybe you're getting to a point where you're becoming more and more willing to embrace this more metaphysical sort of spiritual side of things in life. Whereas in the past, maybe you might have kind of avoided that to a certain degree or kind of kept it on a surface level, but now you're wanting to take things a little deeper because you're starting to just kind of see the truth about how things work a little bit more. Um, so if you're feeling like I don't know what to do with myself, that's okay. Be okay with feeling like you don't know what to do with yourself. And the paradox is that when you're okay with not knowing what to do and you're no longer beating yourself up over it, all of a sudden you'll have things, you'll just suddenly be like, I want to do this. And this whole drama in your head about, I don't know what to do, don't know if I'm good enough, don't know if I'm going to, I need to be this. It's all in your head. It's all just a story that you're telling yourself in your mind, and that it's causing all this unnecessary pain and suffering and struggle. When all you really have to do is just exist, be okay with the fact, be okay with just existing. Because when you feel like you're inherent, when you don't have a sense of inherent self worth, then just being and existing and doing nothing feels unbearable. It feels like unacceptable. Um, but when you do start to embrace that sense of inherent worth, really most things kind of stop bothering you. You don't really care how you look too much. I mean, you'll still like take care of yourself and like want to, look good and all that kind of stuff, but it no longer becomes like a need, a thing that like bothers you and makes you feel really unhappy if you're having a bad hair day, or if you decide if you're a woman, you decide you don't want to do your makeup that day or whatever. It's actually really surprising to me, and this is kind of a little off topic, but how many people, or especially like women that I've met, like that never leave the house without having like their makeup and being done up and dressing nice. Like it's okay to not be like look as good as you possibly can at all times, but some people would scoff at that and say you're crazy, Isaac. That's of course you do. Don't you understand that that's how you make it? That's how you get what you want in life. Um, no, it might help you get things. It might help you get certain things in your life, but it won't make you happy. Things don't make you happy. Peace, inner peace, being present, letting go of this negative story that tells you you're not good enough in your mind. That's where real happiness comes from. Um, so yeah, I guess that's kind of the main thing that's jumping out at me here, is to embrace this more um, like metaphysical, spiritual side of things. Learn to just be in the present moment. Learn to feel your existence instead of think about it. One way to do this is to start small. Just kind of pay attention. Just look around you. Just look at the environment around you and just kind of notice all the things in the room around you. You don't have to say anything about it. You don't need to judge it and say this is good or bad or whatever. Just notice it. And now already that's eliminated a huge chunk of your mental activity, the background subconscious negativity that tells you all these stories about who you are, who you should be. Just paying attention to your environment, then you can take it another step farther and pay attention to how your senses, how to, what are you feeling on your skin right now? What do your clothes feel like as they hang on your skin? What is is there a breeze in the room? Is there, what do you feel? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? Just paying attention to just your senses. That takes you even deeper into the present and lets go of even more of this of extraneous mental activity. And then you can take it even farther and notice the sense of consciousness, like the aliveness, the the energy of life itself that moves through your body, the subtle body. You can become aware of that. And when you do that, at that point, you're pretty much just present and you're not really thinking about anything else. But then all of a sudden you notice, hey, I'm not thinking anymore. But then now you're thinking again. Uh, so it's all about just being present. And people get this idea that not thinking is a bad thing, that not thinking will make you stupid and you just won't handle anything. It's actually the opposite. Overthinking is what makes you stupid and do things that are not good for you. Not thinking is what allows you to be completely present and have access to all of your inner resources, the vast resources of an infinite consciousness with infinite potential. You know, there's a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell that describes the part of the mind that's able to process more information in the blink of an eye than you could possibly ever think about just sitting there thinking about something for an entire 24 hours. We have the ability to process information instantly, just super fast. Consciousness is able to do things instantly, just unbelievably quickly. It's just this ego that's created out of thoughts that thinks it needs to think about everything and figure it all out. That kind of slows everything down and tells you that, oh, well, you can't just not think. You can't stop thinking because then what are you going to do? You have everything's, you have to survive. You have to take, but it's a lie. You don't have to think in order to embody presence, to be here and now. The more present you are and the less you're thinking, the more your true self you really are. You don't become less of yourself. You don't become less capable of managing your life. You become more capable, more of yourself. Anyways, I digress. So I think we're going to leave it at that. I think I've kind of illustrated the point that I see here. So if you want to get a private reading or do a natal chart reading, I do offer those. I do natal charts and tarot card readings as well. Information is down in the description below. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and take care. See you next time.